New today, Yevgeny Prigozhin, the man who waged an armed rebellion against Vladimir Putin, has reportedly been spotted in public for the first time since that uprising. This is the grainy video posted on Wagner's social media channels that appears to show the mercenary leader greeting his troops in Belarus. Now, the video appears unedited, but it was filmed in very low light, as you can see. CNN can't definitively confirm the speaker in the video is in fact Prigozhin, or even when the video was recorded. CNN chief international security correspondent Nick Paton-Walsh has been following this new development. So Nick, what more can you tell us first about the video and about Yevgeny Prigozhin's whereabouts?
Yeah, I mean, it is extraordinary, this video. It doesn't really give us particularly compelling evidence that Prigozhin is in the dark, grainy footage that appears to be possibly from the camp in Belarus that, as they claim when they post this video, is where Wagner fighters may have relocated to. Essentially, this comes forward and says that Yevgeny Prigozhin, after his long absence, is essentially keeping with the deal provided by Belarus's President Alexander Lukashenko that turned his armoured column round on the way to Moscow during that failed armed rebellion. And it interestingly too emerged a matter of maybe 3 hours after here in Prague, the head of Britain's Foreign Intelligence Agency, MI6, said that in their assessment, Yevgeny Prigozhin, I asked him, is he alive, is he healthy? And he said that Prigozhin was, quote, floating about. And then suddenly this video emerges. So clearly a lot of a bid here to show Prigozhin is going along with that deal, Boris.
And Nick, you were able to ask the head of MI6 about the deal that Prigozhin struck with Vladimir Putin. What did he share with you?
Yeah, it was an interesting assessment, really, in that often when we hear the Kremlin speak publicly, most of seasoned observers imagine that there's a different story behind closed doors. But Sir Richard Moore, the head of MI6, in a rare public speech here said, look, from what we've assessed with all the Western intelligence assets that we have available to us, actually that public narrative of Prigozhin marching on Moscow, Lukashenko from Belarus intervening, and Putin suddenly seems forgiving Putin in very short order over the days ahead. Well, that's actually what really happened. There isn't a hidden private story that's more complex. That was interesting. He said that essentially Putin cut that deal with Prigozhin to, quote, save his own skin. But he also used some kind of colourful metaphors to describe quite how Putin had flip-flopped over Prigozhin. Here's what he said.
He really didn't fight back against Prigozhin. He cut a deal to save his skin using the good offices of the leader of Belarus. So look, even I can't see inside Putin's head, but the only person who has been, well, the only people who have been talking about escalation and nuclear weapons are Putin and a handful of henchmen around him.
Now, he said that while at breakfast, essentially, he'd called Prigozhin a traitor. By supper, he'd been pardoned. By a few days later, he'd been invited into the Kremlin for tea. That extraordinary flip-flopping we've seen from Putin, a sign of weakness and something that repeatedly was compounded by this head of MI6 and a rare public assessment of really what Western intelligence known about that extraordinary weekend in Russia, Boris.
And it shows just how the Kremlin needs Prigozhin and needs Wagner forces in Ukraine, how little progress they've made aside from Wagner. Nick Paton-Walsh, thank you so much for the reporting. Brianna?